What is socially accepted when you're beautiful, but not accepted when you're ugly? Story 1. Just being nice in general. When I was in high school, there was this guy named James, and everyone always blasted him for his appearance, how annoying and creepy he was, etc. I tried to be nice to him, but I'd be lying if I said I enjoyed his presence. One day in class, I was talking about how I felt insecure that day, and he said, "Don't feel that way, you're beautiful." And I said, "Thank you," but everyone else around us laughed. A more attractive guy in the same class called a friend of mine beautiful, and everyone said, "Aw, so sweet, you guys should date." I don't know what happened to James after high school, but I hope he's doing well. Nobody deserves that kind of treatment. Story 2. Being a criminal sometimes. I remember when that beautiful convict guy was floating around the internet for a while, the one that got the modeling contract. He recently did a show where he walked for a big designer. I have no idea, dude. I just remember people trying to justify whatever he did because he was hot. Story 3. Looking up someone's personal information so you can find them again. When you're ugly, you're stalking them. When you're hot, you're being romantic. That is, in Hitch, Will Smith tracks down where Eva Mendes worked and then sends a delivery guy there to give her a wetsuit in her exact measurements. He was being romantic. You would not be considered romantic. Honestly, though, I think that stuff's just romantic in movies, especially the exact measurements part. Gee. It's frustrating that someone's actions can be labeled as stalking if they're not deemed conventionally attractive, while those who are seen as attractive get a pass and are seen as romantic. Personally, I think the idea of someone tracking down my exact measurements and sending me a wetsuit is a bit creepy, regardless of who's doing it. Story 4. My sister and I call ourselves Princess Diary Pretty because we have frizzy curly hair, but when straightened, we clean up nicely. We tried an experiment for 2 weeks. Week 1, wear sweats, no hair straightening, no makeup. Week 2, wear cute outfits, straighten hair, do makeup, wear perfume. I wish we had filmed because the difference in the way we were treated was insane, by men and women. Week 1, people would let doors slam in my face, treated me meanly, and didn't notice me. Week 2, everyone smiled at me, held doors, called me honey, got invited out with coworkers. I even had my coffee and donut paid for. Anyone who says that looks don't matter is living in a fantasy world. Story 5. Being weird. People will tolerate a great deal of weirdness, strangeness, and psycho behavior from an attractive person, whereas these traits would be unforgivable in an ugly person. There was a social experiment conducted where a catfish profile of a beautiful blonde was created. When guys talked to her, the catfishers responded with the most bizarre, weird, off-the-wall, creepy answers, but guys still kept pursuing. People will tolerate a lot of weirdness if it comes alongside hotness. It's being quirky versus being, what's wrong with him or her? That's my beef with quirky characters on TV. The attractive ones are seen as cute and special, and the unattractive ones are seen as basically inappropriate freaks, a la Amy from The Big Bang Theory. But if she looked like Kaylee Cuoco, she would likely be a whole different character. Same with clumsiness. It's considered cute if the girl is attractive, but they're treated like something less over it if they're ugly. Interestingly, attractive guys are almost never clumsy themselves. Apparently, it would make them less handsome. The issue of attractiveness and its effects on how people are perceived is a complex and often troubling phenomenon. It's indeed true that people tend to tolerate a great deal of weirdness and psycho behavior from an attractive person, while the same behavior would be unforgivable in someone deemed unattractive. It is important to recognize and challenge the ways in which attractiveness can unfairly impact how individuals are perceived and treated. It's crucial that we move beyond superficial judgments and instead focus on getting to know people for who they truly are, regardless of their appearance. Story 6. Literally just existing and talking to people. There's a guy at work named Sean. Sean is unfortunate looking. He's a redhead, he's balding, yet his sides and back are pretty long. He doesn't cut his nose hairs, he's constantly red or pink, pot-bellied, and yeah, he kind of lingers around your desk and talks a bit too much. Problem is, we all kind of do that, you know? Overstaying your cubicle visit or whatever. Everyone at work thinks he's creepy. They all think he'll shoot up the place, or maybe will eventually be banned from entering a school zone. To be honest, Sean is a sweet, nice dude. He's your nerdy 40-year-old virgin type of dude. He's got a lot of friends, from what I can tell on Facebook, and practically zero work friends. He plays on different softball and bowling teams, goes out to bars with his friends, and from what I can tell, seems perfectly normal. I talk to him every so often, and he's a really nice guy. I visited his desk, and he said I was the first person to visit him. He started here maybe 6 months ago. It's very unfortunate for him that people think of him this way. I know for a fact that if he was skinnier, had hair, and wasn't ugly, that people wouldn't think he's creepy at all. All I can picture when reading your description of him is Louis C.K. What I don't get is why people who say stuff like, he's probably gonna shoot up the place, and actually mean it, don't instead become super nice to that person. And if you say that about someone and don't mean it, well, it's a pretty jerk thing to say. It's really sad to hear that people are judging and shunning someone just because of their appearance. It's important to remember that everyone has their own story and struggles, and we should try to be kind and understanding towards everyone. It's great to hear that you took the time to talk to Sean and found him to be a nice guy. We need more people like you. Story 7. Winking seductively, I would say. I do agree with others, though. Just about everything is socially unacceptable if you're ugly. Wink with both of your eyes at the same time to double the allure. God dang it, I thought I was the first to come up with that. This is how the conversation went. I think she's hitting on me. She just double winked at me. What, like she winked twice at you? Yeah, at the same time, with both eyes. Why do I ever take you seriously? Story 8. Bad at your job. Truth. I worked with a guy I called Fabio. He was early 40s with long, wavy hair, handsome face. Looked like someone modeled a statue of a Roman general after him. Guy was terrible at his job. Every time I went to his desk, he was watching movies. When he left, we discovered 6 months of work he just straight up didn't do. He worked hard for about 2 years, built up a reputation for being a good worker, and then promptly coasted on that reputation and his good looks. That bugger used to do that hair flip thing when talking with women, and they'd practically go all Elvis fan over him. Well, it's unfortunate to hear about Fabio's work ethic, or lack thereof. It's frustrating to work alongside someone who doesn't pull their weight or contribute to the team effort. But I guess it's not surprising to hear that someone with good looks can get away with a lot in the workplace. It's certainly not fair, but it happens. I do wonder, though, how long can someone get away with being bad at their job just because they're good looking? Story 9. Be persistent in pursuit of your crush. At least in movies, anyway. I've seen this one posted a few times already here, and feel it's more something people get away with in movies, and people in movies tend to be more good-looking than average people. I assure you, behavior that becomes stalker sucks, regardless of how attractive the guy is. Story 10. Being quiet or introverted. If you're attractive, then you're cute or sweet or reserved. If you're ugly, then you're awkward or creepy or have no life. This may be true, but on the other hand, if you are attractive and introverted, people tend to assume you're a stuck-up witch. Agreed. In high school, when I was wearing glasses and had no fringe, I was labeled an ugly weirdo. Halfway through high school, I switched to contacts and cut bangs. I was surprised at how different I looked. But, oh man, I was even more surprised at how different I was treated. People started talking to me more, but since I'm introverted and got some social anxiety, they decided I was stuck up and thought I was better than everyone. What the heck? I've seen this one cut both ways. Introverted, attractive people often end up labeled as stuck up or aloof, while unattractive people get bookish or nerd, which may not sound great, but usually come with an implication of intelligence. It's great that you were able to experiment with different looks and found a style that made you feel more comfortable, but it's not fair that people automatically assumed you were stuck up because of it. It's definitely a double-edged sword, as you pointed out, where introverted, attractive people are labeled as one thing, while unattractive people are labeled as something else entirely. Story 11. I am sure more good-looking people get away with crappy personalities. Drax, Guardians of the Galaxy, said it best. Ugly people are lucky. When someone loves them, they know it's because of what's on the inside. Beautiful people can never really tell. This is why I've chosen not to be rich. It was a choice that I made. Story 12. Wearing more revealing clothes. Or out-of-date clothing. If an ugly guy wears 80s or 90s clothing, people will think he shops at Value Village. If a good-looking guy does it, he's considered a vintage dresser. Same with wearing clothing that are pushing the limits of fashion. Story 13. Taking your shirt off. If you live in a trailer park, it's very socially acceptable, hot or not. Randy, when I want advice on cheeseburgers or not wearing a shirt, you're the person I'll come to. Move on, Gut Cassidy and the Sundance cheeseburger. Story 14. Making a lot of eye contact or smiling at a stranger. People in the American South and Midwest don't know about this since smiling is just common courtesy. Whenever I make eye contact, usually accidentally, I automatically smile. Most people smile back. This can't be related to beauty. I'm not awful, but I'm not beautiful. Story 15. Weirdly, being polite to the opposite gender. I'm generally a very polite and friendly person. When I was fat, men would constantly go out of their way to make sure I knew they had no interest, even though I hadn't given any hint at being interested and was already in a relationship. Now that I've lost weight, everyone's a lot nicer. Similar thing happened to me. Lost weight after high school and freshman year of university, girls who didn't give me the time of day in high school went out of their way to talk to me and stay in touch via social media. It's unfortunate that when you're overweight, men felt the need to make it clear that they weren't interested in you, even when you weren't showing any interest in them. It's not fair to assume that someone is attracted to you just because you're being polite and friendly. On the flip side, it's nice that people are treating you differently now that you've lost weight. It's a shame that our society values physical appearance so much, but it's important to remember that true kindness and respect should be given to everyone, regardless of their appearance. Story 17. This super hot girl farted once in my high school class. People thought it was hilarious, and some of the football players hugged her and thought it was awesome. Later that year in English class, an overweight girl let a ripper go and was mocked and ridiculed and was told she was disgusting. I went to school with an overweight, unattractive girl who sneezed and farted at the same time in school. She spent the next 2 years being called sneeze fart by everyone until she moved away, unrelated. Story 18. Saying you're ugly. If you're actually ugly, you just end up making everyone uncomfortable. If you're beautiful, people tend to fall all over themselves trying to reassure you that you're beautiful. This girl on my Facebook does professional modeling, and she's a 10 out of 10. All of her pictures are, "Dang, I look terrible in this pic," and the wave of people saying, "What? No, you're beautiful. Please date me." Me. "Dang, I look terrible in this pic." Others. "You look terrible, period." Story 19. Being dumb. This is the one I came to say. Stereotypical dumb blonde or musclehead, you've still got your looks. Ugly and dumb, you're double fricked, man. Story 20. To give a somewhat serious answer, boasting of your prowess. People are psychologically more inclined to believe someone good-looking is skillful at whatever they're claiming to be good at, despite no evidence. In fact, there's something called the halo effect that says along with beauty comes all sorts of other positive characteristics. We have a tendency to think beautiful people are funnier, more friendly, more intelligent, more exciting, in possession of better social skills, and are warmer, are more interesting, poised, and even more independent. While it's natural to be drawn to people who are attractive, it's important to remember that looks can be deceiving. Just because someone is good-looking doesn't necessarily mean they're skilled or talented in any particular area. However, it's important to recognize that the halo effect can play a role in our assumptions and to try to approach people with an open mind and without any preconceived notions. Who knows, you might be pleasantly surprised by someone's talents and abilities regardless of their appearance. Story 21. Narcissism and shallowness. There's a ton of vitriol directed at unattractive women who spend a lot of time on their appearance. Putting makeup on a pig. Unless you're naturally attractive, there's this idea that you shouldn't even bother trying to look nice because who do you think you're fooling? You'll always be ugly, so just accept your ugliness. You see it a lot directed at heavy women on this site. Because other people don't find you attractive, people like you don't deserve to feel or find yourself attractive. Meanwhile, hot girls can spend an inordinate amount of time on their appearance and documenting their appearance with very little pushback. People like looking at them, so it's okay they like looking at themselves so much too. Well, this is a topic that's sure to stir up some opinions. Let's talk about shallowness and narcissism. It's funny how people react differently to those who prioritize their appearance. If you're naturally attractive, people tend to give you a pass and even applaud your efforts to maintain your looks. But if you're not conventionally attractive and put effort into your appearance, people often criticize you for being shallow or vain. It's like there's an unwritten rule that says only pretty people can care about their appearance. Story 22. Flirting. Story 23. Bothering people who are reading. After years of sitting in coffee shops reading, I realized I was curt with anyone who tried to engage me in conversation, unless they were an attractive girl. That's a great test though. If you want to know how attractive you are objectively, just interrupt someone reading and see how they respond. I really hope my boyfriend doesn't read this. He'll think that he's hideous based on how hard I try to ignore him when I want to read. I don't think it counts if you're already dating the person. Story 24. Dressing down for an occasion. For example, hot guy can wear jeans to a semi-formal event and pull it off. Looks fine, no worries. Ugly guy wears jeans to a semi-formal event and he looks lazy and underdressed. To be honest, I think this also correlates greatly with how clothes fit. In my stereotype mind vision, the attractive dude wears jeans that fit really well, and the ugly guy just wears whatever his mom bought him. People often don't seem to understand how much properly fitting clothes contribute to being attractive. Story 25. Assuming people want to interact with you. Story 26. Self-deprecation. I'm terrible at self-deprecation. Don't worry, I'm much worse. Story 27. Deliberately opening the sleeping pod of a hot girl during a long trip to colonize a new planet after your own hibernation was interrupted when your pod malfunctioned. Story 28. Not a popular opinion, but from watching drama within my friend group, cheating. Average guy cheats, the girl dumps him and never thinks about his sorry butt again. Hot guy cheats, the girl says it's over, but is dating him again within a month or two. Probably not many people would admit it. They'll all say cheating is unacceptable regardless of looks, but as far as I've seen, their actions tell another story. You have shallow people in your life, I really can't deny that. Looks like the old saying, looks can get you anything, holds some truth after all. But seriously, cheating is never okay, regardless of how good looking you are. It's a terrible thing to do to someone you're supposed to care about, and it's just not cool. Sure, some people might forgive a hot cheater more easily, but that doesn't mean it's right. So let's all agree to be good people and not cheat, okay? Story 29. Oh my gosh, I eat so much. I ate like an entire bag of chips. Is funny, but when you're actually fat, it's like, yeah, no duh, loser. Story 30. People assume your successes are based on your skills. Story 31. Crying. When a beautiful person is crying, everyone is concerned and consoling. Ugly people cry, no one gives a care and acts like they aren't there. Story 32. Being the strong, silent type only works if you're handsome. People don't want to explore if there is any depth to you if you're not aesthetically pleasing.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.